The bicep is named that because there are two different attachment points near the shoulder. The short head attaches to the coracoid process, which is a part of the shoulder blade, and the long head goes over the humerus through the biceps channel and connects in the socket. Pain will be present inside your arm if there's a problem with the short head. If there's a problem with the long head, typically the pain will run over the shoulder. We're going to locate the head of the biceps that attaches near the forearm. To do this, flex your arm with your fingers on the bicep near the elbow and find the tendon at the base of the muscle belly. Simply pinch the muscle belly and extend the arm. If you feel like you're not getting enough pressure with your fingertips, use a lacrosse ball. Try one of two positions, either holding with your fingers or pressed with the palm into the bicep. I find I get better pressure when I use my palm. Remember to squeeze and extend. Another muscle that could create bicep pain is actually in your forearm. This is the brachioradialis, which passes from the humerus towards the wrist. To begin working the brachioradialis, reach under the elbow across to the forearm and pinch down as hard as you can tolerate. Now rotate the wrist, and the muscle should feel like it grinds underneath the fingertips. Do 7 to 10 repetitions, then locate a new point and continue to grind over that muscle. You should feel the fingers drop off the muscle. When you finish, put the fingers on top of the arm, pinch down, and create extension while rotating the wrist. Again, bend the elbow, then extend while you rotate the wrist. Notice my hand goes palm to chest, then palm to floor while I'm extending my elbow. Perform 7 to 10 repetitions and then move on to the next tender spot and repeat. When you have finished the pin and stretch, move on to cross fiber friction. Place the arm you are working across your knees, then grind the opposite forearm across the muscle tissue near the bicep head. This should be an abrasive force moving through the muscle tissue quickly. Continue to press through that muscle tissue until you feel like you've broken down the entire thing.
All right, we are set and ready to go, kind of. Let's make sure we are. So we parked the camper right out in front of the house, and Ashley and her mom are going to be working on it throughout this week, and then once it's all done and the way she wants it to look and modernized, then we'll pull it out to my folks' place and park it out there. So so went out and got ourselves a camper. So we're going to try living in that through the summer, I think. So that should be really an interesting process, I think, especially for the kids, trying to teach them you don't have to live on so much. We can have such a small footprint in our lives. So, excited. Tiny house. Just living in a tiny house, that's all. That's a lot more mobile, and you can see a lot more stuff. It's hard to see stuff when your house just sits in one spot. All right, so today is a core day. All right, core day consists of 7 different exercises, 3 rounds. Each one of those exercises is going to be a minute long. You get a little bit of a break, 15 seconds, 10, 15 seconds to switch out. And then we'll progress through each one. Each round we will progressively make harder. So do your best to stick with us as we go, okay? So the whole point is today we're going to try to prepare our bodies for the rest of the week by initiating good core contraction and stabilizing our spine, okay, because it's so important to the way that our body functions and moves as far as our hips and especially the shoulders through every single daily movement pattern, okay? So if we can't build into our day better posture, there's really no sense in doing the work, right? We need this work to be able to apply to our daily life in order to change what's happening, right? Because you've got 168 hours in a week. You work out with me 5 hours a week, you got 163 to go screw up everything you learn, right? So change it for the rest of your life by implementing these principles into everyday movement, okay? Up top, though, we're going to get started with these iDedicates. That bar is going to stay up overhead throughout the duration of the workout, so that way, especially between rounds, you can rededicate these individuals as we go, okay? But we're going to be praying for Lori's mom doing dialysis 3 times a week, Ethan in his stage 4 liver and bile duct cancer, my friend's wife with breast cancer, that we continue to pray for her healing through the process. And then Kira is still recovering and getting stronger, so continue to pray for her strength as she is healing from that lymphatic surgery and radiation. Her dad, Jim, is in a pretty steady decline from pancreatic cancer. Okay. So he just be praying for the family there with that transition as he continues to decline, that they would have strength through that process of the time that they have left and enjoy the most they can out of that. Continue to pray for Diane with the loss of her husband, and then Mark. Did he make it back out to the field yet?
I don't know. I haven't.
Okay, so we're going to keep praying for Mark after his kidney stones being blasted, that he's able to return to work. Now, our verse of the day, take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. Matthew 11:29. So, there we go. Way to be intentional about our day to get started and keep our mind right and focused on the things of eternal importance. Now, let's focus on the physical importance.
Prepare for pelvic tilt.
Okay, get set and ready. So laying down on the floor, right, we have a very specific sequence that we
3,
use
2,
to create core
1.
contraction, okay?
Pelvic tilt.
So just laying on your back, feet light on the floor, you're not going to be pushing them down at all. I want you to think, cut off going to the bathroom, right, so that low pelvic floor gets really tight. And then think of Doritos under your low back, crush that Dorito, okay? Good morning, Melissa. Well, I ended up getting my first war
That's
move
halfway.
straight in, too. Very first pin I pulled. Ah, dang it. I'm like, that won't be the last one of those I get, I bet. Good. Tight squeeze. Remember, Kegel core compression. Okay? Every single thing we do from now on, Kegel core compression. Okay? Re-squeeze that pelvic floor, compress that core, get that lumbar spine really solid.
3,
Okay?
2, 1. Prepare for pelvic tilt with knee fall out.
Now, tilt with knee fall out, so feet together, one knee at a time, out to the side. Don't let your whole pelvis roll
3,
with it.
2, 1. Pelvic tilt with knee fall out.
They are excited. Super excited.
I do the same thing.
Good core compression. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Nice and tight.
That's halfway.
Good. Okay, so to each movement, right? So as the knee goes to the side, be very thoughtful and intentional about the core being tight. When you get to the end of that range of motion, re-squeeze your core, then bring the knee back up, okay? We're not looking for speedy movements, right? We're looking for good core compression,
3, 2,
strength that
1.
holds you through.
Prepare for pelvic tilt with adduction.
Okay, pelvic tilt with adduction. Grab a foam roller or a pillow, whatever you've got at home.
3, 2, 1. Pelvic tilt with adduction.
Good tilts. Right, Kegel, core compression, super tight. And then you squeeze your knees. Release your knees, but keep your core. Right, Kegel core stays tight as the knees let go. Okay, then you do it again. Recompress the core, squeeze those knees, release the knees, keeping the core tight. Then release the core. Okay, super, super tight.
That's halfway.
Your absolute best. Your your best, your best. Good, tight squeeze.
Three,
Your
two,
absolute best.
1. Prepare for pelvic tilt
Good.
with knee toward chest.
Okay, tilt with knee toward chest. That's just simply a march. Okay, you're just going to lift one leg, set back down, and then do the other leg. All the while, don't lose your core.
3, 2, 1. Pelvic tilt with knee toward chest.
Good pelvic tilt. Compress tight. Okay, march those feet as your knee goes down, especially when you're returning your foot. Recheck the core. Make sure it stays tight all the way through, all the way through. Okay. Your absolute best. Good, tight
That's halfway.
squeeze, core compressed. Good compression. Shoulders down and back. And pull really hard through the core, right? You should be crushing that Dorito into the ground.
3,
Good.
2, 1. Prepare for pelvic tilt with bridge.
Awesome. Okay, tilt and bridge. So you're going to squeeze your butt cheeks to come up off the floor. Remember, feet should be shoulder width apart. Should be quite a ways distance apart.
3, 2, 1. Pelvic tilt with bridge.
Okay, when you do this, if it feels like your hamstrings are going to cramp on the back of your legs, try sliding, just pushing your foot away from you as you lift. Okay, so you're not pulling your heels towards your butt as you lift. Okay. Good core compression, squeezing tight. Again, just like lifting a piece of steel off the ground, right? If I lift one end, everything leaves the ground
That's halfway.
except for the pivot point, right? So your shoulders are that pivot point. You shouldn't be peeling like a sticker up and down, okay? Good squeeze, tight, tight, tight. Almost there, doing your best.
3, 2, 1. Prepare for shoulder drops.
Good. Okay, shoulder drops. So we start again by shoulders down, right, out of the ears, and then pinch them back to the floor. Okay, so if you got to start with
3,
your arms by your side, that's
2,
fine.
1.
Then bring them up.
Shoulder drop.
Relax your arm overhead, okay, and then pull it back down and back. Right? That's what returns your arm. Okay, we're not just bringing our arm down and the shoulder hangs out in the ear. Okay, pull your whole shoulder down and back. Okay, and that goes for both. All the while compressing the core. Stay tight, tight, tight. Do your absolute best.
That's
Shoulder
halfway.
blades down, back, core compressed, tight, tight, tight. Awesome. Very good.
3, 2, 1.
Awesome.
Prepare for dead bug.
Okay. Get ready for the dead bugs. No matter what, core tight.
3, 2, 1. Dead bug.
Okay, so go through the same process, right? Shoulder blades, down, back, core compress, super hard. Set those legs in place. As you extend your opposites, do not lose your low back on the floor. A lot of times when you go to extend, that extra extension, right, taking your leg all the way to the floor, ends up arching the back up off the ground. That means your core is not staying tight. So you can just reduce that by, instead of thinking your leg all the way to the floor, think just
That's
shoot to the
halfway.
corner of the room and then bring it back up. Corner of the room, back up. So don't go all the way to the floor. Because the longer that lever goes, right, the more tension it's going to place in your core and break that core. So we want to keep it tight through that whole process. Get right to the edge of that though, okay? Right where your core says, no, I want to give up, squeeze tighter and return. Almost done.
3, 2, 1. Long rest.
Awesome. All right, very good. Round 1 is done. 2 more rounds to go, so we're going to progressively make them more difficult. Okay, so what I want you to do is to think, keep your core nice and tight, and then you're going to lift 50% of the weight off of your feet. Okay, so core compressed, lift 50% of the weight. So your feet shouldn't even leave the ground, but you are going to create even more compression as you try to lift those knees. It just creates a bit of a pull on those hips, and it forces your back to want to come off the floor, but you are going to fight against that, okay?
3,
Let's go ahead and get set.
1. Prepare for pelvic tilt.
So we did that. And then try to work out something for the patio.
3, 2, 1. Pelvic tilt.
Okay, pelvic tilt. Core compress, lift 50% of the weight off the feet. So Kegel, core compression, tight, tight, tight. Lift a little bit of the weight off, set it back down, then release the core. Core tight, squeeze firm, lift a little bit of the weight off your feet, make sure your core stays tight. Release the, set the feet down, then release the core.
That's halfway.
So it's not losing. It looks like a hamburger bun.
Oh,
It's indented in the center with an incision on it, and then the outside got little wings
oh my God.
that stick out. And whether or not that is good for all of that. Smooth.
3, 2,
Right,
One.
peanut butter knife.
Prepare for pelvic tilt with knee fall
Yeah,
out.
the, like the rounded end, the handle.
Uh-huh.
Handle of the peanut butter knife.
Oh.
That'll break down the scar tissue. Yeah, because if the incision is sticking and you see
3,
like a puckering
2,
almost,
1.
it's just that
Pelvic
scar
tilt
tissue
with knee
adhered to
fall
the
out.
tissue below it. So you can either straighten more, and that's what most therapists will end up doing, is just pop, 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 pop. But it sucks because it's like literally just grinding and destroying it. So it's like
Yeah.
it's like trying to flatten gravel. is what it's like. Or the second thing is what they call skin roll. You try to grab the skin, pinch it, and roll it back and forth, and then roll it under itself. And you kind of feel it, so like this.
That's halfway.
So if I pull on that,
Yeah.
I can kind of walk. Right? That's healthy skin. Skin that's not healthy is going to go here. This would be unhealthy skin.
Yeah.
So if you do this, you can move it.
Right.
So if it could go through here and grab it, roll it, pull, break, but I choose not to do that because I like showing people. My other one's really good. So I've got 2 scars.
3,
For that one, when I
2,
squeeze, it pops
1.
up.
Prepare for pelvic tilt with adduction.
But this one stays down. So that's the difference between scars. I'm my own guinea pig.
3, 2, 1. Pelvic tilt with adduction.
It came up here on top, and then this rolled. So
Mhm.
the scar tissue.
Yep. Yep, that's exactly what you should do. So scar tissue is one of those things, when it begins to adhere, the longer it goes, the more complete, let's say, it becomes. Right? So when it's first happened, as soon as an incision heals, right, it's not going to break open, it's time to start that work. Just breaking it down, because it doesn't
That's
have time
halfway.
to build layer upon layer upon layer. Versus, one of mine has built those deep layers and it's almost adhered to the bone.
Yeah. And then
So
I was just thinking, I remember the doctor said scar tissue, since she doesn't have to do anymore, the scar tissue doesn't under strength because it's going to heal. So
Yeah.
I guess you would want to get rid of it.
3, 2,
yeah, not
1.
not
Prepare
the
for
scar
pelvic
tissue
tilt with knee
on
toward
the
chest.
Achilles. You would only do that for the scar tissue on the
Yes.
incision.
Yes.
Yep. So
Yeah.
you only break down scar tissue on the incision
3,
because the
2,
scar tissue
1.
is
Pelvic tilt with knee toward chest.
Yeah. But yeah, typically incision points, because you're working with the dermis, you're just working with the top layers of skin, that's not going to be ligamentous, tendinous, or muscular. That's simply going to be skin. Because your skin's an organ, right? So if your organs work the best that it should, you need to break that stuff down. So at least that organ can incorporate food. Oh, those are fun stuff.
That's halfway.
Oh,
Good. Yep, marching.
Marching.
And again, your opposite foot should be light on the floor, right? Do that Kegel core compression. Kind of lift a little bit of pressure off both feet. March the feet, keeping a very light weight, right? Feet should not be heavy on the ground.
3, 2,
Good.
1. Prepare for pelvic
Awesome.
tilt with bridge.
Okay, tilt and bridge. So feet again, shoulder width apart. Your knees should stay over those feet. Squeeze your butt cheeks, and the pressure should go straight to your
3,
shoulders.
2, 1. Pelvic tilt with bridge.
Here we go, tilt and bridge. Rest that core, squeeze those butt cheeks nice and tight. Lifting off the ground, set back down, and return the core, okay? And then redo it, right? We're just working hard on trying to make the core work through hip range of motion, right? So we've got out, in, up, down. So that's all we're doing. So core compress through each one of those actions.
That's halfway.
Halfway, great time to pause, rethink about the core. No matter what, the more you establish brain to muscle connection, the tighter your core will become. Okay? A lot of times, especially if you just start this process, your brain has never connected to your core the way that I'm asking it to. So we need to create neural patterns, make it easier for the brain to communicate to the muscle tissue.
3, 2, 1.
Good.
Prepare for shoulder drops.
Okay, start shoulder drops by pulling those shoulders back behind you and down out of the ears. Okay, and redo it. If you got to walk your shoulders down, walk them down.
3,
Get way down.
2, 1. Shoulder drop.
Okay, and arms up overhead. Return by drawing your shoulder down and back. It's all about the shoulders. So use that lat to pull this into position, right? So this position here, when I'm up, it's elevated. I want to pull my finger down. Okay, so pull that armpit way down and back. Say, squeeze an orange with the armpit.
That's
Make some orange
halfway.
juice. Good. Tight squeeze, doing your best all the way through. Recompress that core. Tight. Good. Oh, wow.
3, 2, 1.
Good.
Prepare for dead bug.
All right, get ready for the dead bugs. Or you can do bird dogs. Okay, so I'll show you bird dogs. Remember, don't cat or cow.
3, 2, 1. Dead bug.
Good core compression. Squeeze nice and tight. Remember, your extension should not be through the back, right? So I shouldn't extend my back trying to kick my foot or raise my arm. Okay, I'm holding that tight and just meeting the range of motion that I'm able to get. Tight squeeze.
That's halfway.
Very good. Tight core compression. Squeeze nice and firm. Your best through the movement. Your best. Tight core compression. Tight core compression. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze.
3,
Your best.
2, 1.
Awesome.
Long rest.
All right, so there is round 2. Okay, so for round 3, we're going to make it even more difficult. So what I want you to do is really think about how you can get those feet off the ground, maintaining your core compression. Okay, so as soon as you start to lift those feet, reconnect to the core, say tight, 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 and give just enough squeeze through those hips to get the feet off the floor, return the feet to the floor, then release the core. Okay, so it's a very distinct process. So every movement this time, we want to try to get the feet off the floor. Remember, if you can't, go back to one of the original versions.
Prepare for pelvic tilt.
Okay, go ahead and get set in place, ready to go.
Three, 2, 1. Pelvic tilt.
Good, tight squeeze. Compress that core, start pulling the knees towards the chest, pull, pull, pull. Then set them back down, and then release the core. Again, if you get your feet off the floor, but your low back pops off the ground, too much squeeze through the feet. Okay, focus more on the core. Okay, and a lot of times people want to pop off their toes, right? Kind of jump into position. Don't do that. We're looking for a nice flat foot, just lifting the feet off the floor. If you can't get the feet off the floor with the back staying down, you're not squeezing her knees. So that's what we want to train. Work on that over and over and over and over until that pattern is trained in the brain. Then it's going to be easier to create movement through the hips with a tight core.
3, 2,
Good.
1. Prepare for pelvic tilt with knee fall out.
Tilt with fall out. So feet together. Compress that core super tight. Try to hover the feet, knee out to the side as far as you can. Bring it back up.
3, 2, 1. Pelvic tilt with knee fall out.
Again, if it's too difficult to hold the feet up in the air and create that movement, don't. Set your feet back down. Do what you can, but make sure it's a challenge. The only way it's going to change is to create a strong demand or a big challenge. That's what will bring your change.
That's halfway.
Good. Tight squeeze. Recompress. Your tight core tight. 10 seconds. Good.
3, 2,
Awesome.
1. Prepare for pelvic tilt with adduction.
Okay, tilt with adduction. Grab that foam roller between the knees. 6-step process here, and we'll do this one together. And I
3,
want your absolute
2,
best.
1. Pelvic tilt with adduction.
Kegel core compression. Squeeze your knees, lift your feet, set your feet back down, release the knees, release the core. Do it again. Kegel core compression. Squeeze those knees, lift the feet, set the feet, release the knees, release the core. And again, through the relaxing process, when your feet return and when you release the foam roller, your core should still be tight. Think that belly whack is coming for you.
That's halfway.
Good, good, good. Awesome. Very, very good.
3,
Almost there.
2, 1.
Awesome.
Prepare for pelvic tilt with knee toward chest.
Tilt with knee toward chest. Again, you're going to be marching, but see if you can have both feet hovering to start. Only move one leg at a time though.
3, 2, 1. Pelvic tilt with knee toward chest.
Kegel, core compression. Hover your feet, one knee up, back down to a hover, other knee up, back down to a hover. Remember, I don't want a scissors kick where both legs move simultaneously, right? It's down, back up, foot down, back up. Okay, so only one leg should be moving at a time. So it was Micah's birthday Saturday, Gabby's birthday Sunday, and we found out Lauren
That's
has quite
halfway.
a unique talent. It's balloon decorating. So she literally draws with like chalk markers on the balloon. Some of the most incredible stuff I've ever seen. I'm like, we need to like do this and sell them. Because it is so cool. Because she did like different floral designs that would just like overtake the whole balloon. That she did like bubble cartoon characters,
3,
like on the
2,
balloon.
1.
It's like
Prepare
I
for
would
pelvic
totally
tilt
pay
with
for
bridge.
handmade, hand-designed balloons. It's just super cool. So we'll see what she does with it. Because I'm like, well, you don't even have to helium because you can get like the little sticks
3,
that a balloon
2,
ties on the top.
1.
I'm like, you
Pelvic tilt with bridge.
just climb onto there. That'll be her next farmer's market project, I'm sure.
Sounds like she needs a sketchbook.
Oh, she's got so much art stuff.
Oh, does she?
Our girls are loaded. I mean, they've got 5, 6 different art briefcases with different oil pastels, and crayons and markers, colored pencils. We've got like a whole toolbox, like plastic toolbox, completely filled with stuff. It is unreal. They love to craft.
That's halfway.
It's something they love to do. Good squeezes. Remember, core compressed super tight. Good tight butt cheeks. Think pinch that penny. Good, good, good. Nice and tight. Do your best.
3, 2, 1.
Good.
Prepare for shoulder drops.
Awesome. Okay, good shoulder drop. Set those shoulders down and back as far as you can. Hold that core compressed really, really tight.
3, 2, 1. Shoulder drop.
Okay, every time that arm comes back up towards the ceiling, remember to reset your shoulders by pulling through your lats. Okay, get the shoulders down and back out of your ears. Well, so then I told Lauren, I said, you need to do, like, start learning on YouTube how to draw caricatures. Like, how to distinguish what you should accentuate and everything like that. And then she could actually draw caricatures on balloons. That'd be super cool. I don't know
That's
how many people
halfway.
stop at those random, art easels and say, hey, draw me a caricature. It's like, well, who does it on a balloon? Good, good, good. 15 seconds. Re-squeeze that core. You guys are almost done. Okay, recompress. Right now, recompress. Tight. Squeeze that core. Very
3,
good, ladies. Awesome.
2, 1. Prepare for dead bug.
Good work. Let's get set for the dead bug or the bird dog. Remember, with either one, you're thinking that core is compressed tight enough that someone could kick you in the stomach and you wouldn't even
3,
phase you.
2, 1. Dead bug.
Good, tight squeeze. Remember to recompress your core as you go through the movement. So each time you return kind of to that center, recompress. Okay? Recompress. Then create your movement. So we're always trying to build this pattern of compress the core, then create movement. Compress the core, then create movement. Okay, should be tight the whole way through. Compress,
That's
compress,
halfway.
firm, firm, firm. Doing your best all the way through. Tight squeeze, tight squeeze. Firm, firm, firm. Awesome work, awesome work. Good job. Finish strong. Almost done, ladies, almost done. Recompress, re-squeeze.
3, 2, 1. Long rest.
Awesome. Well, very, very good work, everyone. So glad you could be here. Remember, if you have not yet, please do hit the little red button down below to subscribe to this channel. It will help you be notified when we go live and provide you with exactly what you need for daily movement patterns. Okay, redeveloping, reworking the way that you move. So that way we can implement better body movement into every single day. We are going to jump back into our self-myofascial release. Make sure you are trying to work through that to ensure that your body is both relaxing, right? Creating relaxation through the muscle tissue and contracting through our exercises. Okay, so that's the whole point, is we combine the two to make sure that your body begins to achieve balance. I hope you have an absolutely fantastic day. I will see you tomorrow for our upper body day.
Carpal tunnel syndrome commonly is caused by forearm muscles that get overly tight and create compression on your carpals. We will start by working through the extensor digitorum, the extensor carpi radialis longus and brevis, and extensor carpi ulnaris. Start with a lacrosse ball on the upper part of the forearm. You'll notice when you make a fist and squeeze the knuckles up, the muscles will tighten in the upper part of the forearm near the elbow. Press down with the lacrosse ball and flex the wrist. Release the pressure on the lacrosse ball, returning the wrist to extension or knuckles up. Repeat this process multiple times over the top side of the forearm in the extensors of the wrist. Do this at a brisk pace. An additional way to work this muscle tissue is by using your own forearm. Locate the flexors of the wrist by squeezing the knuckles up. Lay your arm across your knees and press your elbow into the tissue. Repeat, knuckles up, pressure on, knuckles down, pressure off. Continue this process through the muscle on The next group of muscle tissue that creates more pressure on the carpals as well is on the inside of the forearm. These are called the flexor carpi radialis and ulnaris and palmaris longus. Using a technique like the extensors, start with an open palm, flexing your fingers towards the elbow as far as you can. After you put pressure down on the muscle tissue, using your opposite elbow, open your hand, pointing your fingers to the floor as far as you possibly can. Lift the pressure, flex the wrist, bringing the fingers to the starting position. Continue this process for roughly 30 seconds in multiple spots, working briskly. The next area to focus on is the retinaculum. This is a ligamentous band around the wrist that keeps the tendons close to the bone. Oftentimes, the tendons underneath the retinaculum get adhered and make it very painful within the carpals themselves. Focusing on the retinaculum, glide the thumb up and down the entire band, spanning from the mid-wrist all the way into the base of the hand. Work vigorously with firm pressure for 30 seconds in order to break adhesions that lie deep within the carpals. Now it's time to perform a joint mobilization. You can see there are several bones that make up the carpal area of the wrist. We want to simply restore some range of motion to the carpals. Using your opposite hand, create a tight squeeze around the wrist and drag the hand away from the elbow as you hold the wrist. Begin to rotate the wrist in a big circle. Continue mobilizing the wrist for 30 seconds. Now we're going to create a stretch that's going to help the nerves communicate with the wrist. Sitting in a chair, press the shoulder down towards the floor. Rotate the thumb and wrist backwards, then flex the wrist and fingers up to the ceiling. Create a neural glide by looking down and away from that arm. Continue to perform this stretch 30 to 60 seconds. To begin working the muscles that are most affected by de Quervain's, hold your hand with your thumb straight up in the air. Then locate the tendon that is most superficial or on top of the wrist. This tendon will be controlled by a muscle that runs up the arm towards the elbow. I want you to contract the muscle tissue by flexing your wrist up and down while you press into the muscle tissue with your thumb. If this is too difficult to use your thumb, grab a lacrosse ball and place pressure directly onto the forearm using the palm of your hand. Remember to create this contraction 7 to 10 times, pressing straight into the muscle tissue near the elbow. Next, we are going to run pressure from the wrist up the forearm towards the elbow, creating a firm pressure, driving up and stretching the tissue. Again, we can use the lacrosse ball and just roll up the arm, creating a release of that tissue.